talking about this retreat. I'm really, really super excited that you're going to be leading the Heal Yourself to Happiness Vacation Retreat on Lake Norman. And we just can't hardly wait. So, Deborah, just tell anybody who's listening a little bit about yourself and how you got to be doing the work that you're doing today. So the first part about you, and then we'll get into the specifics of the retreat. So tell people who you are.
Okay, that's cool. Thank you. Well, yes, as you know, my name is Deborah Jane Sutton, and I found myself sort of gravitating towards energy healing, starting with emotional healing. And like most healers, I think you'll find that it comes from a need for the healing ourselves. So as I found myself healing on these paths, obviously it led me to sharing what I do. And it starts with emotional healing. This is one of the biggest areas, and I think people underestimate the power of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Emotions actually are energy in motion, and we know that everything is energy. We've heard this before. We've heard this from Albert Einstein and everybody. And like attracts like. We've heard these universal laws, but people don't really absorb and understand the impact of these. And energy needs to move in cycles, and we know this from the water cycle. Okay, so the water cycle is one of the best examples. And if you block a river or a stream, you will see that the water will soon go stagnant and bad, and rot, basically. Well, emotions and energy are exactly the same. Emotions come in, and we're meant to process them and let them out, but we tend not to do that for a number of reasons. But you can see in people around you, you can see angry people, you can see happy people. I mean, we talk about happiness, right? You and I have found our happiness, and that's why we're doing this, right, Matt? Because we want to share, these techniques and this happiness that we feel. We want to share it with others. And from where I've come from, we've all come to this place from different routes, and I've read your story as well. But from where I've come from, it's been definitely an emotional journey, and I think it's not so much a case of putting the healing in. I think it's a case that the happiness is innate within all of us. It's there inside us. And but the trouble is we have so much debris, rubbish on top that we're hanging on to, that we can't see or feel that the happiness beneath. So it's not a case of putting the happiness in. It's a case of taking out the debris, taking out the stuff that's blocking it. And in my experience, 90% of that is emotions. So,
that's really interesting, because one of my favorite expressions or sayings is like the idea of a sculptor doesn't create the actual sculpture. He just chips away the rock that's not necessary.
Exactly.
And that's what you're talking about, just chipping away.
Exactly. And that's exactly how it is. And the thing is, though, and what I find amusing is that with our language, and obviously there's loads of languages in the world, but particularly with English, our language, talks a lot about this kind of stuff, and we don't realize, how relevant a lot of it is. And the other thing is with culture. Let me just give you one example, because I know we haven't got ages and ages to chat, but one example that I think is really really profound is when you look at the media and you look at the news. If I can refer to our culture as being the Western culture, if we go to a funeral, for example, it's acceptable to have a little tear, but more than that, you've lost your dignity. And the pressure upon us to behave a certain way at our own loved one's funeral is madness, really, isn't it? And then when you look at, let's say, if you've been, I spent a few years in the Middle East. I love the Middle East, but if not, you've seen footage on television of maybe a Middle Eastern funeral, and you see the mothers behind the coffins wailing, and throwing themselves on the ground, and you see this absolute public display of grief. And all I know as a mother, and I know, you're a parent yourself, if anything happened to my son, my body would physically want to throw itself on the ground and wail. And this is all about the energy of emotions. It's coming in, we're feeling it. That's okay. It doesn't have to be positive because, there's duality and all of that, but it has to come out. And what we keep doing is we just keep shutting it in. And what's this idea about big boys don't cry? We wonder why we've got so many messed up people. Crying, if you think about it, Matt, crying is just an instinctive, involuntary, biological, the most practical method our body has, the most natural method our body has of completing that cycle and releasing the energy of that emotion. And that's why it's always so healthy to have a good cry. Yeah. And yet, we're encouraged not to do it. I mean, crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I just spent some time writing my next post that's coming out about every year I have a theme for the year. And my theme this year is giving. And as I was writing about the concept of giving, it reminded me of another lesson I learned from the Tao Te Ching, which is we have to unlearn life.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about partly is unlearning what the culture has put on us, so that we get back to who we are more naturally as a human being. And what you're saying is human beings cry when they need to cry.
Yeah, and another interesting thing is, as someone who's always considered herself to be a good friend to those around her, you've got to think about how you deal with your friends when they're crying, because we instinctively want to give them a hug and tell them to stop. And now I have a completely new view of this. If I have anyone crying on my retreats, I just give them the space. We call it just holding space for people so that they can cry knowing that they are completely loved and accepted and safe and secure, and they can just let it out, But this idea of you actually...
that sounds...
Sorry?
That all sounds well and good. That sounds well and good, but there should be no crying in the happy living house.
Unless it's emotional release. Because if it's emotional release, then that's to be celebrated. So often I see people, I see the emotion as it, like people that have learned to love themselves for the first time. That's one of the things I do, is help people learn to love themselves. And you can see the process when you're learning to love yourself in some of the self-healing techniques that I use. It starts off with this wave of joy comes over their faces, right, which is beautiful. And then it turns to tears because they are releasing whatever energy it was within them that was stopping them from loving themselves. So then that energy then comes out. Then that's, a little bit of healing. That's fine. And then the real happiness emerges. So, we won't focus too much on the crying, but we also don't need to stop it if it happens naturally, right? But one of the things I want to share with you, though, is what I want to teach people to do. This is why I call myself Heal Yourself. I like teaching people how to actually heal themselves. So I will be using techniques from the Emotion Code, which is a energy healing modality, and a book by Dr. Bradley Nelson, and using muscle testing, which we can use for a wealth of ideas. I want to be able to help people learn how to do this for themselves. So often when we get emotions, we get this energy come in and we block it for whatever reason, basically because we don't like the feel of it. Okay, we feel a negative emotion, we don't like it, so we tell ourselves, I'm not going to feel it. We shove it right down, we suppress it, right? And then, of course, as Sigmund Freud says, it will come back and bite you on the bum anyway, right? So you want to get rid of it. And it will, after time, cause malfunction and disease and illness and pain and what have you. So any physical symptoms, any emotional symptoms, 90% of the time, these are because of trapped emotions within the body. But I'm going to teach the guests how that they can identify these emotions, how they can locate them, and how, most importantly, they can release them for themselves. So this is massive. This is big stuff. If people acknowledge that, it's a natural process to trap emotions, because the thing about trapped emotions is A lot of people will say to me, oh, I haven't got any trapped emotions. I'm okay. I can deal with everything, as if it's some kind of shame attached to having trapped emotions.
Yeah.
Well, I can bet my bottom dollar everybody has trapped emotions. And I've been doing this for a few years now, and I've seen examples, let's say examples of the trapped emotion of lost, for example. And this is funny because I saw it in 2 3-year-olds, okay? One 3-year-old had a trapped emotion of lost because their mother died when they were 3, right? I've also seen trapped emotions of lost in a 3-year-old in my client when they were 3, okay, because I have ways of finding that out. And it was from losing their favorite toy over the pram when the mother was running for a bus. Now two completely different incidents, losing your mother and losing a toy. But
Yeah.
it's not about the incident. It's not about the event. This is why some people can deal with traumatic events, other people can't. It's how people relate to it, the emotional feeling people attach to it. So, and there's all sorts of stuff how this can hold us back in life, like anger, anger management. I mean, you've got trapped emotions of anger. What happens is you have 1 or 2 trapped emotions of anger. We know that everything is energy. We know that energy vibrates at different frequencies. So the energy of anger is trapped within your body, vibrating at a certain frequency. Like attracts like. You're going to attract circumstances to you that are going to bring you more anger. This is why angry people attract anger. I mean, it's not rocket science in the end, is it? It's so logical. We only need to know that everything is energy and like attracts like. So you then end up with this massive ball of anger. So when an incident happens where somebody might just get a little bit angry, because the energy of that anger is coming in, it's resonating with that great big ball of anger that you've accumulated throughout your whole life. And it's then making you completely overreact. And I mean, anger is the most common example, but I had this personally, my personal experience, I had this with the trapped emotion of rejection. My dad left home when I was 6, and there was a trapped emotion of rejection. And from there, I just attracted more and more rejection until in the end, somebody only had to cut a phone call short with me. And I was like, in floods of tears, feeling rejected. It was crazy. But this is what's amazing about the emotion code. It stops all that overreaction. You can release all these trapped emotions. It's valuable stuff that we're going to be sharing with our guests.
I'm really excited about it, especially now that I hear first of all, how enthusiastic you are about it, but also I know how life changing it can be. I've experienced some of this stuff myself personally. And what I find is there's 2 things I think that are difficult for us to manage. One is, as you call trapped emotion, as we start trapping emotion, or as something negative changes in our life, it might be emotion, it might be your health from the way your diet is, or by lack of exercise, or whatever it is. The slowness of the change makes it so it's unnoticeable, and it's just the way it is. It's
Yeah.
me. And so one of the challenges is breaking that consciousness that no, I lived for 15 years with chronic pain in my stomach until I changed my diet and the chronic pain went away. But I convinced myself that it was fine. It's no problem. And you must see that all the time with your clients.
Yeah. Well, this is exactly the case, which is, I mean, as an energy healer, people will come to me with a symptom, right? And they'll only keep with me until their symptom is relieved. And that's so frustrating for me because I always want to continue because these trapped emotions are within us anyway, okay, whether they're causing a symptom or not. And let's say you've got that ball of anger and you release some of them, right? And then that ball shrinks a little bit. So you feel a little bit less angry. And then you think, oh, this has worked. This is great. But it's still a small ball of anger in there. And that's going to go and attract more anger, which means 6 months, a year, 2 years down the line, you're going to be back to square one, which is another reason why I really want to empower people to do this for themselves, because I don't want them to feel beholden to keep coming to energy healers. And, we have to charge a price, our energy, with our work. And so it's not always cheap for people, especially when they can get, here in England and Spain, we have free medical care. I know you don't over there, but this is one of the things that can help them. And I encourage my retreat guests when they've learned how to do this. I say, even if you don't have any symptoms, just release as part of your spiritual practice every day. Just release 1 or 2, 3 trapped emotions every day, and you will notice a difference over time. Because sometimes there are things, as you've just been saying, Matt, there are things that we accept about ourselves that we just don't need to accept about ourselves. And this was when I was doing this for myself. I was focusing on certain symptoms, physical and emotional, and I was focusing on them. I healed my own underactive thyroid gland. I was given 125 milligrams of thyroxine every day. I was told I was going to have to take it for the rest of my life. I used the emotion code to balance my thyroid, and I'm completely medication free, have been for years. And so I was working on certain symptoms like that, but also just over time, I was just noticing other things that were just getting better and better. And they were things that I couldn't really put my finger on. So, these trapped emotions affect us in all sorts of different ways. And so really after our retreat together, people are going to be able to free themselves from overreacting, free themselves of physical symptoms, free themselves of emotional issues like anxiety, depression. It works wonders with all of these things. So this is going to be really empowering for anyone that decides to join us.
Hey, Deborah, so tell me what emotions are you feeling about being a guest star, one of our first guest stars at a Happy Living retreat?
And it's funny you should say that, because on the list of trapped emotions, right, from the emotion code, there's like 36 emotions on there. Obviously, it's just language, trying to describe an energy. But one of them, they're all negative except for one, which is called overjoy. And at first, I thought, overjoy? Why is that on there? But then it makes sense. I mean, I have since found so much joy in my life, and I'm like a little overexcited puppy sometimes. And sometimes we can trap overjoy. If you have so much joy and it's a surprise, well, we know that, don't we? There's a thin line between a surprise and a shock, right?
Yeah.
So we know that there's an emotional impact that comes from really good news. And that's where the trapped emotion of overjoy can sometimes be, a negative thing. But so I'm keeping it on the right side. It's a very positive emotion, but it is definitely one of overjoy.
So what was your reaction when that email came across, and how did that line up with, or did it line up? It seemed like it did, with some of the things that you were looking to do in your life. I mean, I think this is kind of something that's meant to be.
Yeah, well, I'm very intuitive, as you know, and my intuition was telling me that things were going to change. I was going to be taking different directions. And one of the beautiful things about being self-employed, which I'm sure, you agree with, is that you can branch out and just do lots of different things. It's not just going to work for 8 hours, 5 days a week, doing the same thing. So it's like, yeah, I can say yes to this. And then I can, but you've got the freedom to say yes to loads of other things. And so, I'm always open to embrace new opportunities. You never know where the next lump of joy is going to come from. So it really fitted well, because I had intuitively felt that new opportunities were coming for this year. And I think it's the same for a lot of light workers. A lot of people in our game. There's a big shift going on at the moment. I think there's a lot of people waking up, and raising their consciousness and just becoming more aware of a lot of this stuff. And so it's a really good time.
Did you say light workers?
Light workers.
Okay.
That's what us witches call ourselves, light workers. We work with the light. The light as opposed to the dark, right?
Okay, light worker.
No, but you don't realize it, Matt. You're a light worker too, but you just don't use the expression. But that's what you're doing. This happy living house, it's all about shining light on people's lives. This is what you're doing.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be a fellow light worker.
There you go. Welcome to the light worker team.
You know what? Just yesterday I got called an angel, and now today a light worker and a witch. So this 2019 is starting with a bang for me.
This is brilliant. I'm really looking forward to doing some of this stuff with you, Matt. Let's get rid of some trapped emotions and raise some vibrations. Sure. We'll see how witchy we can make you.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be fun. So Deborah, try to describe as best you can how we're going to have our guests are going to come in on a Monday. It doesn't matter, but we're going to have 5 days, 2 travel days, to get to the house and then one to go home, 4 full nights, and then 3 full days together, and just tell us about how you envision the day going. Because
Yeah, well, this is
my role, let me just, before you get going, what our role is at Happy Living is really to be the hosts of you. You're our guest star, and all the folks that join us. You're coming to have a vacation on Lake Norman at our house, and we're going to be hosting you. And so that lets you, as our star, and all of our other guests focus on the stuff that you want to do, which might be a lot, might be a little, it might be relaxing, it might be spiritual healing. And so, just from that background, what do you see the days and the nights looking like?
okay. Well, like any good teacher, obviously we need to see where our guests are at, because that's why I enjoy working in such small groups, because I do give really individual personal attention. It's not the same as if you were going to be talking to a room of 100 people. These are, we're just got a small number, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know anyone that signs up with us. And I will really direct the workshops to personal needs within the group. So I wanted to make that clear as well. And obviously, like any learning, people learn at different speeds. So obviously there will be flexibility around that as well. I can go as fast or as slow as the people that are signed up. So I always love starting with kinesiology. People spend a fortune on kinesiology to get allergy tested, and really I just love introducing people to their own energy and letting them know how to use it to muscle test themselves, to give them the answers to like food allergies and stuff like that. So I always start off with that. It's super practical, super simple, and super life-changing, because you can use it for so many things. Then I will take it a step further, and we will use that muscle testing skills to talk to the subconscious and their own subconscious, to identify the emotions that we've been, from the chart that we've been talking about, using the emotion code. Also, I also do a lot of teaching of EFT, the emotional freedom technique. It's getting really popular these days. It seems a lot of people are doing that. So if that comes up as something that would interest the guests, I would be doing that as well with them. And basically we would go on. I mean, I'm never happy unless the people I'm working with at the end of the retreat can actually show me how they are releasing their own trapped emotions, because that sometimes takes a little bit of confidence, a little bit of practice. So I will be there helping people through that. And then I love talking about energy, so they can see it from a different perspective, okay, and really understand how energy works so that they can use it to raise their vibrations and to attract greater opportunities and a greater life, more positivity into their life. And then if time, seeing how we go with the time, I would love to go and talk about the new book, Heal Your Souls, which takes it all to a completely new level.
That's great. And a part of what we can do, because the location is on just a gorgeous part of Lake Norman. We have this beautiful house, so we can be having yoga or workshops in the house, out on the patio, weather permitting. We can take a boat ride out to a quiet island in the state park and do a session there. We can really just kind of do whatever we want. We're going to have lake toys, and we got a beautiful lake. We have hiking trails. I did look the weather up. The average weather for
I saw this 83. You've got to translate it into Celsius for me. I've just had a quick Google. So yeah, it's 28. You say it in Fahrenheit, and I'm going to translate it into Celsius for whoever's listening from this neck of the woods.
Excellent. So one of the things I thought that we would do, we've got about a dozen folks that have signed up for that. They're either coming to our event or interested in our event. And I've engaged with them on Facebook through messaging. And I would encourage you to do the same, Deborah, now that you're a part of the part of the page. And I asked today, I said, hey, I'm going to be talking with Deborah. Do you have any questions that you'd like me to ask on your behalf? So this is we just turned into a radio show. So Myra says, I would like to know who inspired her most in her journey to self-healing. That's question one. Question two, who do you talk to when life happens and you feel hopeless? Do you have mentors or specific practices that you use to become centered again? Great question,
They're
Myra.
lovely questions, aren't they?
Questions.
And there's so many, oh my goodness me, there are so many answers I could give to that. Now, I'm going to have to say, see, when you look back, hindsight's amazing, isn't it? Because when you look back, I can see relevant events in my life that led me to this path, but I just hadn't
Yeah.
acknowledged them at the time. So
Yeah.
all the numerous people that led me on that path. I mean, obviously everybody plays a role in your life that takes you anywhere, right? But I think as far as energy healing, especially with the emotional healing, I do have to say that Dr. Bradley Nelson, his book was the big turning point for me. I call it the big one. I call the emotion code the big one because it's changed my life the most. And I still use it as the basis for all my healing sessions. And it's helped me heal so many things within me the most. I mean, I have kind of taken the emotion code on to another level now, but as a starting point, I have to say that Dr. Bradley Nelson's book was one of the main influences. And where do I go and what do I do? That's an interesting one. First of all, I do have an amazingly lovely husband who's incredibly patient. So he's always good to turn to. But also, being a witch, I do use my cards a lot. And if I'm looking for inspiration or intuition or guidance, I do turn to my cards a lot. And if I'm really honest with you, I now feel that I'm connected enough. Meditation is and that's one of the things I love to
Yeah.
teach. I would love to do a couple of guided meditations while I'm with you. We could do those outdoors around the lake somewhere. It sounds beautiful. Just some kind of meditations. A
Mm.
lot of people shy away from the word meditation. They just think it means you've got to sit there omming, or you've got to sit there and try and empty your head of thoughts. And of course, there's let's go poco poco. We go, I do meditation for beginners and also meditation for those that are more experienced. As far as where do I get my guidance from, I would say a really good yoga session followed by some deep meditation, and that will give me all the balance and guidance that I need. And that's why I like sharing it with others.
You know, yeah, one of the things I find interesting and what I've had a ability to do in my life is to make connections between different things. And as you were talking about how you deal with life happening and when you feel hopeless or challenged, I was thinking as you were telling me about reading your cards and connecting that you can connect with spirit or you do it through meditation.
Yeah.
I go for a hike, and that's how and I feel like when I'm out in the hike, the way I would describe it is I feel like the universe sends me messages of inspiration in some way, and I'm quite certain that we're saying the same thing, just using different
Oh,
awareness and
exactly,
different
Matt.
language.
Exactly, exactly. And this is why I say to people, this is why I make when I work with retreat guests, I like it to be so personal because I really want to give them the relevant advice. And one of the things I enjoy doing is tapping into exactly how they pick up their guidance and how they pick up any messages or any creativity. Because some people, as you say, do it through walks, do it through meditation. Some people do it through their creativity, their art, their singing. Swimming is one of my big ones as well. So everybody does it a different way, and it's really important to know which is your way. And people do this, without knowing what they're doing. I mean, a lot of people, are not so
Right.
aware consciously. They just know that they need to go for a good walk, or they know that they go jogging or something.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so it's very instinctive. I'm just putting labels and names on these things, but it's very instinctive in us to know what to do. It is
Yeah.
basically relaxing the mind so that you can hear your inner self.
Yes.
That's what it's all about.
Oh, I love it. That's exactly how I believe. I was having that very conversation with my 15-year-old daughter last night. It's getting out of
Yeah,
your head and getting into your heart.
exactly.
Awesome. So I got another question. This is from Carol, and she says, "I just got your message, and I'm touched that I'd ask." Well, Carol and everybody else, we're doing all of this for you, so get ready to feel like that we
We're
care.
sharing the
That's the
love.
whole point. She says, we're sharing the love. She says, my life is up in the air with my launch, so I have no idea if I'll be able to attend. She doesn't know Deborah, so don't have a sense of who she is and how she works. Well, she will after she hears this. But really, the reason I was drawn to the retreat was to be on your gorgeous countryside. And folks, that's reason enough. It's amazing. You're really going to love it here. And she says to hang out with me. Well, thank you very much, Carol. She says, I'll see if it's meant to be. And we've been talking about that. Maybe she'll get, the spirit will tell her it's meant to be. And understand if you're totally booked by the time the answer is clear to me. So, not a question to you, but you have any comments on that?
Well, definitely, and I think it's really relevant that the retreat is in such beautiful surroundings, and obviously your energy there is creating the whole situation, which is why it's going to be super powerful, and it's also really important. Although it sounds like I'm going to want to be really busy helping people, but it's really equally important, and I know you're going to agree with this because you've just talked about your hikes. Um, the time to themselves. When I do my retreats here in Valencia, I insist that the afternoons are free for everybody, because when you've worked on releasing stuff and you've worked on yourself, then you need to let everything settle, and you need to have that hike for the reasons that you've just said, so that the spirit can talk to you, or you can hear your soul, or however you want to word it. You need to play, laughter. This is an interesting point. We talked about crying earlier on, right?
Yeah.
But actually, we can release trapped emotions just as effectively through laughter. So I think let's go back and say what you said about no crying on the retreat. Let's release those trapped emotions through laughter, because, this is really therapeutic in itself. And also, if people are at a crossroads, like your last person, was it Carol said, or not sure what direction people are taking and stuff like this, sometimes this is what the whole point of the word retreat. Okay, retreat means getting out of where you are, because you don't realize the energy surrounding you. It could be your favorite person that's just not giving you the right energy. It could be anything, your neighbors. It could be the energy of your house. It could be the energy of your job or your local shop or anything. So being on retreat is really important, because you're not having any influence, any outside influence. And the
Yes.
only other influence that we're going to be putting in, of course, is one of joy, one of laughter. I mean, I'm a swimmer, so I'm really looking forward to swimming in that lake. And I've already said to you that I mean, this is really egotistical, and I'm meant to be moving away from the ego, right? But I would love a photograph of me doing a headstand on a board.
Yes, we're
I'm,
going to do
I'm,
that.
I'm not an Instagram yogi, right? But it's also, just to justify my words there. I do believe in something like release the fear, embrace the challenge. I love this. Release the fear and embrace the challenge. So I want to do it not for egotistical reasons, although I might put a photograph somewhere, but I just want to do it to release the fear. Because when you release fear like that, it's magical. So it's just perfect that we're going to be working together like this, Matt, because, we really need our guests to be away from their normal environment, because they need to really think about their life. They need to think about where they're getting their energy from, and more importantly, where they're losing their energy. And you can't do that when you're still in the energy. So being on your retreat is going to be perfect. So not only does it get them away from their everyday life, but it's going to just give them that laughter, that joy, that space, that love, that everything that they're going to need to really, really heal themselves to happiness.
Beautiful. And I want to add on to that, because um, when we first decided to buy the Happy Living House, the idea, the vision I had in my mind was we were going to be holding retreats, and those retreats were going to be, I put air quotes around retreats, the traditional thing that you go and you get educated, and then you go home and you try to apply that education. And we held a team meeting with Kyle and John and Scott, who work with us, on the lake in a vacation rental. and we talked about what we wanted to do and how we're going to do it and all that kind of good stuff. We did a strategy session for 2 nights, 3 days, something like that. And at the end of it, what we came away with was, wait a second, we don't want to do retreats. We want to do vacation retreats. And the vacation part is what I talked about. You're there as our guest. We're going to be doing shopping for you. We're going to treat you as our guest, Deborah, the guest star, and anybody who joins us. We're going to treat you like you've come to our house for a vacation. And what you will have come to our house for a vacation. Along with that vacation, we're adding a little sweetener, which is a guest star that has a specific subject matter expertise that you're interested in. And he or she is going to share that with you for some of the time that you're with us. But a lot of the time that you're with us, they and all of you are going to be on vacation in our lovely place called Lake Norman. And so it's very specifically a vacation retreat. It's not just a retreat.
Yeah, no, but that makes perfect sense. I mean, that is perfect. I mean, they are still away from their everyday energy, and that's what's important. The fact that they get so much more thrown in, and they get all this water sports and all this being looked after and everything. I mean, it's perfect, because what we really want them to do, our guests, is we want them to focus on them. Very often these people are just givers and givers. I find that a lot of the people I work with, they give too much, and everything's energy, and everything, and energy wants to move in cycles, and the giving and receiving has to be balanced. And most of the reasons that people are out of balance is because they give too much, right? And they don't receive. And I always advise people that if they're in a situation where they can't receive as much as they give, then give yourself the love, then you can receive it. So it's all about self-love as well. And so the venue and the vacation side of it is absolutely perfect. And I know also from experience with my own retreats that the universe always throws the right people together. I mean, some of the friendships, Matt, that have been made on my retreats, they stay friends forever. It's beautiful.
I have a question. So one of the things we added to this, and I did it because of how it makes me feel, is we're making these all inclusive. So you pay the price. It's $2,000 to join Deborah's event. You get yourself to our house. You can just fly into Charlotte if you're flying, or you can drive in. Either way, if you're flying, you can take an Uber or a Lyft up to the lake house. It's only about a 40-minute drive. And then once you come in, you don't need to touch your wallet. You don't need to touch money. No credit cards. Everything that we do will be a part of your vacation retreat package. And when I go to all inclusives, that's one of the things that I love the most. Now, can you talk about why I love that? What's the energy release in that?
It's all part of being looked after, I'm sure. And also in today's world, nobody really wants hidden costs, do they? I mean, I've noticed this with because our retreats are always all inclusive as well. And I just think it's really important that people, have that space to not even think about money. I mean, money's a massive energy, right? I mean, so it's just really nice and such a relief to be is that being looked after, isn't it? And not having to worry, not having to budget, not having to, and also no hidden costs, because, that's always unpleasant, isn't it? And so, this is an investment. I mean, it is an investment in for people to make. And it's important that people understand that not only is the vacation side of it going to be memories forever, but the skills that they're going to be leaving with, the self-healing techniques that they're going to be learning, they're going to be able, these are life skills. These are life-changing skills. This is an investment that is going to really pay back for anyone that takes it up.
I love it. So, Deborah, do you have any questions of us about the week together, about the house, about the lake, or the weather?
No, I just confirming though that 83 degrees Fahrenheit is 28 degrees Celsius. And you said that it was what did you say? It was a minimum of 55 degrees or something. And that is 12.
Yeah, 55.
It's the minimum, right? And that's 12 degrees Celsius. So I'm just doing that little translation there for anyone from my side of the pond.
Yeah, and let me just see if I can do, or Kyle, would you see if you can find what the average lake temperature is? I didn't
Oh,
look that
for
up,
me
but maybe you
personally,
can.
Matt, that's not going to be a problem. I'm a cold water swimmer.
Well, then you're going to be surprised because it's probably going to be 80 degrees in the lake.
Right. So what's that?
It,
20,
it's
20
like a
something.
it's like
Yeah,
a swimming pool.
that'll be
It's
good.
like a swimming pool. Yeah,
That'll be good.
yeah. Uh, okay, Deborah, what kind of person do you think will get the most out of this 4-night getaway vacation retreat with you specifically? This event.
That is a brilliant question, Matt. I'm really glad you asked that actually, because there are certain, right. The typical person that's going to get the most out of this will be somebody who has got to the stage in life where they realize that there's more to life than
Mm,
the one that they're living. A lot of people are living life thinking, there's something missing and they can't put their finger on it. Well, this is what we're going to help them with, right, Matt? But not only that, anyone that's realized and acknowledged that they have emotions or they feel emotional about certain things or that they have past traumas or just past events that have upset them. Maybe there's people that they just can't forgive, incidents that they're hanging on to. A lot of people tend to make stories out of
mhm.
their wounds. This isn't going to help anyone heal. We can keep the memories. We want to release the emotional attachment to them. So anyone that can relate to that, anyone who thinks that they may have what we call in the business a heart wall, I sometimes refer to it as once bitten, twice shy. When you've been hurt and then you're going to stop yourself from being hurt again. So all you do is you build a wall around your heart. That's great. It stops you from being able to love again. That stops you from being hurt, but it also stops anyone from loving you. So anyone that can relate to that, they will need to come. Yeah, it'd be perfect for them because they can release that emotional energy. Anyone that just feels like they want a new lease of life and that they're bored with the humdrum or whatever's going on because what with the water sports and everything else and the meeting new people, there's going to be new directions, new opportunities, new friendships made. Anyone that's tapping into their intuition and just feeling like everything that you and I have been saying is resonating with them, then they really need to think seriously about it because I think we're going to be able to cater to a wide range of people. There's going to be a lot of people that will benefit from the emotional healing, the self-healing techniques, the direction. There's all sorts of other stuff. A lot of people are ready to hear this kind of energy talk because people are, as I said, there's a lot of people sort of raising their consciousness and realizing that there is more to life. So I feel really honored to be in a position to be able to help people with that. So basically anyone that's ever had anyone that's got a trapped emotion, which is basically everyone, right? if you
Very good. So, just a few more questions. Uh, with this event specifically, what are you most excited about?
coming to the States again, because I haven't been to the States since I was 26 years of age. And I think it's going to be really different. I haven't been to North Carolina before, but I have driven through it because in 1985, yes, I am that old, I hitchhiked from New York down to Florida. So I must
Wow.
have gone through North Carolina. I stopped in Virginia. I know that. But I can't remember anything about North Carolina. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to meeting you guys in person. I'm really looking forward to the swimming and the yoga outdoors, meeting new people, sharing what I love, my passion, emotional healing and energy healing. It's just a win-win-win, isn't it? Really.
It actually is our definition of happiness: doing things you love with people you love in places you love while creating something of value for others.
Exactly. And just what came to me when you said that, the importance of being who you really are. Because do you know what? When you're in
Yes.
life, living life, in life, like, normal, whatever life, so many times, whether it's the social society putting pressures on us or relationships in a certain way, I don't know what, but how many times do people have to be a certain way? When I was in my day job, which I gave up like 3 or 4 years ago now, but when I was in the day job, I couldn't talk about this stuff at work. I would have been sacked on the spot. They would have burnt me at the stake. People say that doesn't happen anymore, but believe me, it does in other ways. And they say that true happiness is when you can, the things that you say, the things that you think, and the things that you do are all in harmony. And that's what we're going to be giving people, Matt, is we're going to give them the chance to literally be who they want to be. They can say, think, and do what they really, what they are and who they really are. And that's one of the definitions of happiness.
To quote my friend Deborah Jane Sutton, that's brilliant. So what you said about you'd be sacked if you were your true self. Amanda Gates, who is actually going to be the guest star of the very next retreat, and she is a interior designer and she's a specialist in feng shui. Mm-hmm. She too had to closet all of her feng shui because it wasn't acceptable. And to me, we're on this journey of happy living. Authenticity is one of the most important pieces of that. Just finding who you are and then being who you are. There's nothing better. Nothing better.
It's so important. And that's so interesting that you said that about the other guest as well, because I think it's a really good sign, because I talk about being in the closet, in the spiritual closet. Oh, I'm definitely out of the spiritual closet, obviously. But it's interesting because just a little story if we've got time. When I was at one of the things that made me realize I had to leave the job, I was working as a primary school teacher, so I had beautiful kids in front of me and I could and stuff, but the pressures on teachers is crazy, And so I had these 6 and 7 year olds, and some of them were special needs, and I was working with them, but they needed to learn how to love themselves, how to love each other, how to be kind. They needed to learn how to be happy, how to feel safe. They needed to learn so much about that kind of stuff before they could even access the curriculum. And I had the head on my back all the time saying, have you taught them fractions yet? And there was just one day when it all got too much, and I turned around to the head and I said, I haven't had time to teach them fractions yet because I'm too busy teaching them love. That's all they want to do. That's all they need. And then I just suddenly stopped and I thought, oh my goodness. That is what I want to do. I just want to teach love. And at the time, I just giggled to myself and laughed it off. And now, 4 years later, look at me, Matt. I'm teaching love.
So I have one more question for you. But before we do that, Kyle, our production manager, content Sherpa, all around awesome dude, found out that the temperature on average is 72 to 77 degrees in the lake. So it's swimming pool, a little bit cool, it's swimming pool weather. And that's 22 to 25 degrees centigrade. Perfect.
Oh, okay. That's perfect.
Last question. I imagine there's about 6 to 8 or 9 people out there, because we have 6 private rooms. So if people want to share a room or a couple comes or whatever, 6 to 8 or 9 people out there who will be at our event that you can talk to right now. And what are you most excited for those 6 to 8 or 9 people about?
Right. Yeah. Well, actually, one of the things that one of the things I want to encourage people to do would be to look at some of the testimonials from my work, because actually previous guests can say it so much better than I can. And the reason that I say that is the truth is that everybody will get something different from their visit. It's not like everyone's going to get the same. I mean, yes, I can teach everyone the emotion code. I can talk about energy, and I will help people with their personal issues. But what people actually take away will be different each time, because, they've all got different issues, right? So what's going to make it life-changing for them will be different for each person. And that's why the testimonials really speak volumes, because they're by people who are honestly sharing what they got out of working with me. And each time it's something different, but it just gives you an idea that everyone is going to benefit, but
Right.
I cannot say exactly how, but everyone is going to benefit somehow, because it's going to be on such a personal level. And the fact that we're going to all be living together for that week, and sharing and playing and laughing and discussing over dinner and everything, and of course we can do some card readings, we can do some of this, we can do some of that, really there's going to be some personal care going on, and there's going to be some transformations. I mean, that's guaranteed. But exactly what transformations is going to depend on who's signing up, right? So if you've got something that you want to transform, or there's something that you want to change in your life in any shape or form, remember, everything is energy. So it's all part of it. So then this retreat is definitely for you, because it will be life-changing and transformational.
I'm super excited. If you're listening to this and you're super excited, there are 6 rooms to book. You can go to Happy Living's Very Happy Living on Facebook, and we have an event page. You can ask questions of Deborah or of me. We can engage with you through Facebook messaging, and there's also a link to make your deposit on your room. And we're going to have a blast. We hope to see you there. Deborah, I'm going to let you sign off with any parting comments and say goodbye, and we'll close her down.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to chat. I always love chatting about what I do, and it's always lovely to hear about the lake. And I'm really, really excited about this week in May that we've got planned, Matt. It's absolutely brilliant. I think that joining forces like this is just going to just double the transformation value for anyone that joins us. So those of you listening, feel free to contact me if you want to have a chat. I know, we've talked about a lot of stuff here, but if you want to have a one-to-one chat about your personal needs, and so that we can talk about how I can help you, then please do. I'm going to put a link to my website in the Facebook event, and you can contact me for an internet chat, and we can take it from there. So I look forward to hearing from you.
Awesome, and Happy New Year, everyone. We hope to see you at the lake this year. Bye-bye.
Bye.